Hey, MBA hopefuls, you are on the air with MBA Waves. My name is Eric Lucrezia. I'm here, as always, with Bara Sapir. Hi, Bara.
Hi, Eric. Good to see you.
You too. And this week in MBA Waves, we were talking about the Rotman MBA and how it will transform your career. So for those of you who don't know, MBA Waves is your weekly vidcast every Tuesday, streaming live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And we talk about all things business and education. This week's episode is a spotlight on Rotman MBA. And today I want to go around the room and introduce everyone. Welcome to MBA Waves, everyone. Let's go around the room and everyone can introduce themselves, to say who's joining us today. Please say your name, where you are, and what you do. Why don't we start with Lynda, my friend from Rotman. How are you?
Hey, hello, everyone. Thanks for logging in and joining us to learn about the Rotman MBA. My name is Lynda Vanderburgh, and as you can see, Assistant Director for the full-time MBA program, Recruitment and Admissions. I've been with Rotman for 18 years. I started in the Career Center for 3, and the rest of my time has been here in admissions in some various roles. But yeah, I've had a lot of portfolios and seen a lot of changes here at the school, and I'm happy to talk about the full-time MBA.
Super excited to have you with us today, Lynda. Thanks for coming. Next up, also on the professional staff, we have Sheila. How are you, Sheila?
I'm very well, Eric. Thank you so much. And hello to everybody who is tuning in to listen. I am Sheila Schaffzin. I'm the Associate Director within Rotman's Career Services Department, supporting all of our Rotman graduate business programs, organizing all of the strategy behind employers who come to campus to recruit all of you for your internships or jobs while you're at Rotman or upon graduation and beyond. So thank you very much for having us today.
Thanks, Sheila. All right, and next I want to introduce two of the benefactors of the Rotman program, one of which is a current student, the other one is a recent alum. Why don't we start with Gretha, who is currently in the Rotman full-time MBA program. You there, Gretha?
Hi, Eric. Thanks so much. Yeah, my name is Gretha Conrads. I'm in my second year of the MBA program. I'm originally from Berlin, Germany, but have been in Canada for a while now. And this summer I actually interned at BCG in Toronto. And I'm going back there full time. But I came in with a non-business background, so I'm happy to talk about that transition as we go through.
Yeah, a lot of people are in that boat, so that'll be super interesting to a lot of our listeners today. And last but not least, Chris Lee, also Rotman student, alum now, graduated last year, right, Chris?
Exactly. Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric. Yeah, so I'm also originally from Europe, Austria to be precise. Also used to work at Boston Consulting, did my MBA at Rotman from 2020 to 2022 and graduated in May this year. And yeah, now still working in the consulting world.
Congratulations. Nice.
Neat. So speaking about the MBA program in itself, what are some standout unique features of the Rotman MBA? And it would be interesting to hear from both the students and the professional staff on this.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll start in admissions and thinking about, when we're talking to candidates about the Rotman MBA program, what makes us unique? And I think there are a few factors. I mean, you look at MBA programs, there's, the business fundamentals courses you can see across the board, and sometimes it's hard to decipher what makes one business school unique over the other. And I think I want to start with location first. It is something, location is something to consider when looking at MBA programs and the proximity of the business school within the city. And the Rotman School of Management is located downtown Toronto. And I share that because it does provide easy access to alumni, to corporate recruiters, to have them on campus as well and to make those connections, whether you're a domestic student or an international student. Expanding your network in the MBA is essential. And I think the proximity of the business school is helpful in doing so. I would also want to talk about a personal and interpersonal development for our students, which I do think is unique to Rotman. And that's through our self-development lab, which runs alongside the first year of the curriculum. And these are different modules or workshops, one-on-one coaching or small group small groups that you'd move through, working on self-management, maybe communications, voicing yourself. I don't know, Greta or Christoph, did you guys engage in the SDL throughout your first year of the program?
Yes, maybe I can speakly talk to that. I did, and I did the SDL, so the self-development lab in my first year, and then the leadership development lab in the second year. And as you said, I think those are one of the distinguishing factors of Rotman, that it's not only the academics that you're able to dive into, but you can also basically spend a lot of time working on yourself and your self-development, which I found to be really valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And that leadership development that comes with it, which many are looking for in an MBA program as well. I would also want to talk about career services, and I know Sheila will dive into that a little bit later, so I'm going to be brief about it. But the flexible internships, so most MBA programs that are 2 years, have an option for you to do an internship in the summer months, where we would look May until August. And Rotman, I believe, is the only MBA program in the world to offer this flexible internship. It is mandatory. It's not a co-op, so we're not placing students into jobs, but we do help facilitate opportunities for those internships, which Greta and Chris leveraged while they were in the MBA program, and convert that into a full-time position, if that's what you're looking to do. So I do think that flexible internship is kind of key to our students, as most of our students are looking to change their career, if not a full industry change, but at least a functional change. And so that internship does help them get their foot in the door. I
interrupted for a second, Lynda, because I'm curious. Could you walk us through how that works, the flexible internship?
Yeah, well, maybe I'll let Sheila, seeing she's in the Career Center.
Happy to.
But yeah, the flexibility between summer, fall, and winter, and when that can happen.
Yes. So students in our full-time MBA program are the ones that participate in the flexible internship program. And ultimately, the first segment where a student could do their internship time is the summer after their first year of coursework. They could do it that summer. They then could also do it the following fall or winter term. So the students have the opportunity to choose when they do it, when it fits within their academic curriculum and how they want to navigate that scheduling. And the program really allows for students to put theory into practice, to deepen the fundamental knowledge that they've learned, right, in that first year of the program, from business to management to all sorts of different topics from their classes, really into industry practice while working with a company. And as Lynda mentioned, it's not a placement, but we do work with employers. So my industry engagement team is working actively with companies across a whole host of different industries, and we'll speak about that a little bit later in the chat, to develop different internship opportunities that become available to our students, companies that are very interested in engaging and recruiting from our Rotman community. And students may also find some of their own opportunities that they have through their own networking community or different avenues, and then are within the program. They're also teamed up with an advisor as well. So they have someone that's working with them, another industry expert affiliated with Rotman, that is assisting them through navigating this internship experience and what they're learning, and in conjunction with the Rotman curriculum, which is a very unique offering that we have.
Nice.
And I think I'll round out for international students specifically is the ability to stay and work in Canada for at least up to 3 years, either before becoming a permanent resident, or using the 5 years that they've been here in Canada, 2 years of the program and 3 years after, to get Canadian work experience, and maybe then, go elsewhere. And it's, our career services, Sheila might touch on it later, is you're able to, work in Canada, maybe Toronto, but we have a team that can help you look at opportunities outside of Canada as well too. So you're not restricted coming into the Rotman MBA to think Canada only, that we have support staff to take you anywhere in the world.
I think it's also a big draw for doing an MBA in Canada. It's one of the most open immigration policies in the world, and the fact that you pretty much have a guaranteed 3-year work permit after doing your 2-year program. that kind of puts you on a good path to permanent residency or citizenship, perhaps. I think it's a big draw for you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the curriculum really sets the students up for success, between quantitative and qualitative skills that students are learning here. Employers are very engaged and wanting to recruit our students. I mean, they're often competing with each other as to, how early can they come, or, how many sessions could they run, or, having the opportunity to network or be in front of our students. So the students that are graduating from Rotman are really in a great position, that these are very engaged employers that want to come here and are very interested in them as talent coming from the program.
And Sheila, do you find, or even I could ask Gretha or Chris, based on your classmates, do you find that most people who do the Rotman MBA choose to stay in Canada long term, or are they mostly benefit from the great program that you guys have and want to work outside of Canada?
It's a mixture of both, but it is more heavily weighted towards Canada. Toronto, GTA, but also different locations within Canada. But we are seeing a shift in that. We are seeing more of our alumni spread into different international markets, and more of our students that come wanting to go to international markets. So every year, those metrics are increasing for us. Predominantly in the U.S. is a very growing market for our alumni community base, and some other country areas too.
GTA, that's the Greater Toronto Area for those who
yes,
don't know.
Thank you.
Code that for our listeners. So, look, I wanted to pivot over to rankings for a moment. And, we all know that rankings, it's important and they can be very impressive, but it's also about finding a school that's the right fit for candidates. Super important I think more important than choosing a top 10 ranked school. And with all the incredible programs out there, I mean, many of them deliver a lot of the same essentials. You have to study finance, marketing, accounting, all that kind of stuff. Yet each of the schools out there, they have their own way of delivering these things, these classes and an MBA program. So I think a lot of it comes down to culture. So I wanted to ask you guys, can you tell us about the culture at Rotman? What's it all about? Maybe our current student would be the best to ask for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I can jump in, and then maybe Chris can speak to it a little bit as well. But coming from a non-business background, I always had this sort of preconceived notion that business schools are very competitive and cutthroat, and Rotman really was not like that at all. I think, of course, the first year is quite tough academically, but everyone is so supportive, from students to faculty to staff in the career services department, or even, we have, we're divided into sections, and then we have an associate director who's kind of our contact person for that particular section. And everyone is very supportive, and you can tell that the whole Rotman team really cares about students, which is something that I wasn't exactly expecting going into a business school. So that was a really, really pleasant surprise for me. And beyond that, I think Rotman is a very diverse school, so it's really a place for everyone, and that was something that really stood out to me throughout the recruiting process and also during my time at Rotman so far.
Chris, did you want to add to that?
Yes, so I agree with what Gretha said, the supportive culture, the inclusivity, but a third point that I might want to mention is there is a big culture around the notion of paying it forward. So when you start your Rotman MBA, you will very soon realize that there's not only people from the career services helping you, but also your second year students and alumni who basically received the same help when they were first year students. So this whole culture of paying it forward, once you're done with your first year or your second year, that you stay still in touch with the school and help the incoming students to make the best out of their experience is something that stood really out to me.
Nice.
And I just want to add, I think that's important, because Eric, you brought it up about rankings. Rankings can play a factor. I mean, you want to go to a school that has a reputation that is recognized globally. Of course, you're buying into it really for the rest of your life. It's not just for the duration of the program. So program that carries a reputation like the University of Toronto, the Rotman School of Management, but it's the fit too. It's pulling apart those rankings. What do they all mean, and what do you actually want to get out of the program, and find that program that suits you. And for all the different things that Greta and Chris could talk about, that the program will serve you, are the companies that you're interested in recruiting with, hiring from that business school. So it's really more than just like where are they ranked, but it is the reputation that the school carries.
What I find very often more interesting than the let's say the initial ranking or the main top 100 list, right? When you go deeper, there's other like sub rankings within. I'm talking about the Financial Times, of course, like, best for women in business, best for entrepreneurship, best for international mobility. There's like, and depending on what's important to you, what your goals are, what your values are, like there's this kind of more detailed rankings within the main ranking that I think sometimes are more important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Pull those apart and figure out where is the school strong in the things that are meaningful to you.
100%. And that's really what makes finding the right fit.
Yeah.
Not to mention the multiple rankings out there that each have their own different methodologies and ways of, figuring out where the schools land on that list. So yes, absolutely. It's both. It is about the reputation and about finding that fit.
What I like about the panel today, I have to say, just like stepping back, is that there's a really nice lifeline here between having admissions and then the career and having an alum and a current student. But I want to look at the front end of this, which is the application process, because there's a bunch of people who are watching us who want to apply. And what should they expect? What are some of the suggestions that you'd like to offer in terms of being a great applicant and attractive to Rotman?
Mm-hmm. Well, being in admissions here, I certainly have some things to say about that, but I might want to flip it over to maybe Greta or Chris and maybe share how you went about the application process. I can certainly talk about what we're looking for in a candidate, how we're assessing them, the diversity of the class, but I think what anyone who's looking to apply to the program should take the lens of what other students have done. How have you reached out, or what was the process that made it effective for you? And then I have some thoughts to share as well.
And what they could also share on top of that, if they don't mind, is like some of the things they did to position themselves well for admission, because they're trying to get in the face of competition from all those other people, and perhaps some tips you might offer to anyone who's applying this year. So whoever wants to start, Greta or Chris.
Chris, do you want to start this one?
Sure, I can start, and feel free to chime in after me. So basically, I would say there are two important things that I did that really helped me during my application, which is first, do your research. So really research the school, research the values, research what kind of courses they offer, and think about if that is something that would be for you. Is that something that resonates with you? Is that something that brings you, when you think about your future goals 5 years ahead or 10 years ahead, is it something that contributes to your future goals? And I think a big part, and brings me to my second point of doing research, is not only desk research, but really use the programs that Rotman offers to talk to people. I think Rotman still has the ambassadors program, which is a few I think second-year students which volunteer to be a point of contact for interested students who want to apply to the Rotman MBA. And I still remember 2 years ago when I thought about, okay, what should I actually write my MBA, my application essay about? Talking to current students really helped me to understand what the school is about, what the unique things are, and what the culture is, and really allowed me to actually think through if that school is a good fit for me or not. So to stress these 2 points, do your research and don't be shy to reach out.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that as someone in admissions, and I'm recruiting, but I'm also doing like file review. Reach out to admissions. I'd say that is a tip. Perhaps not all business schools do that, but we we do work closely with candidates applying, and so we offer pre-application assessments where we will discuss, the strength of a GMAT or a GRE. We'll review your transcripts to see what your admitting GPA could look like, talking about references, essays, really helping you prepare the best application that you can, or in instances where maybe you're not ready for the MBA, talk about where improvements need to be made before submitting an application. So I think, first off, reach out to admissions, request a pre-application assessment. Chris is right. Talk to student ambassadors, get a sense of what it's like to be a student there, how they interact with faculty, what the culture is like. Talk to alumni. A lot of people leverage LinkedIn. The application process is done online, and I think it's pretty straightforward what we're looking for in a candidate in the different areas that we're assessing. I won't dive into all of them, but we're looking at intellectual horsepower, communication, presence, experience and impact, and your spike factor, which is our essay. And we look at all of that holistically to see if you're a fit for Rotman. And I would say I look at maybe the class profile as a way to see where you stand. Are you in the range around the average? If so, then you might find yourself a good candidate for Rotman.
Lynda, could you just say a little bit more? Tell us about that spike factor. I like that. The essay.
Yes, we get so many questions about spike factor from candidates, from faculty at other business schools. I think it is a unique way of assessing a candidate. We can read a resume to see, the quality of their work experience and what they bring to the table there. But this is our way of getting to know a candidate, hearing what makes them unique or interesting. It is a 500-word essay now, and share. Think of this as an opportunity to get connected to the larger admissions committee about who you are, what we wouldn't see on a resume. And we're not here to find out why the Rotman MBA, why an MBA. That comes up in an interview. But this is, tell us who you are. That's what we want to know.
Neat. Now, you mentioned, Lynda, you did throw in the GMAT.
Yes.
You threw that in and that's my world. My world is test prep. You didn't mention the GRE or the EA. Do you accept all of those tests? And testing in general is a big topic these days. So where is Rotman in terms of these tests?
Yes, so we accept the GMAT and the GRE equally. Doesn't matter which one you submit. It is part of the admissions process. I think because some business schools through the pandemic has removed that as part of the criteria, we got a lot of questions about is my work experience enough for, to exempt the GMAT, or the strength of my GPA. It is part of our assessment of intellectual horsepower, and so you are still required to send in a GMAT or a GRE. We will also take CFA2, CFA3 in lieu of. We know that there's been difficulty through the pandemic to get CFA testing in, and so we'll take CFA2 now in lieu of a GMAT or a GRE. So it is an important factor. It also helps us kind of get a better sense of one's academic rigor and can they handle the strength of the program. And so, you're not, the strength of your GMAT or GRE is not indicative of your intellectual ability, but it does give us a data point along with your GPA to help us ensure that, we're making, I don't want to say we're making the right decision, or we're ensuring that you can, for the most part, get through the program. So it is an important part.
And taking the test multiple times, is that looked at in any particular way?
Not negatively. I mean, if you're not happy with your test score and you want to retake, you can do better. I mean, I think that shows drive and, your willingness to want more for yourself. And you always want to put in the strongest application. And so, submitting the best test score that you can. And so it's not looked at negatively if you have multiple test scores. It's good for you for keep trying.
That's what I tell them.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, I think most schools would agree that, taking it a second time, even a third, it's demonstrative of your character. It's like you're willing to work hard on improving yourself and to demonstrate your aptness for the program. I think that speaks volumes.
I'll also add too, it's not always the GMAT score. It's enough to get admitted into an MBA program, but you also have to think of it's ever used in recruiting, that you want to make yourself as competitive as possible in the MBA program when it comes to recruiting. Should employers ever want to look at the GMAT as a way to kind of shortlist or assess talent? So you're also doing yourself a favor once in the program.
That's 100% true. A lot of people don't consider that, but it's very absolutely true that a lot of the top firms, the most desirable or targeted companies, do want to see a top GMAT score as well. Yeah. And speaking of being able to handle the academic rigor, I wanted to pivot over to academics. You know, many people already know that Rotman has top professors. Maybe you could share, like, who are some of your superstar professors these days? What are they working on? What makes them so great?
I thought maybe Christoph or Greta, maybe you had some insight in any faculty that that maybe you worked closely with, you did any research, or just the classroom experience and what that was like with any faculty members you've interacted with.
Do you want to kick us off on that, Greta?
Sure, yeah. So I haven't done research with any particular professors, but there were definitely a few standout professors in my first year and through the beginning of my electives that I want to talk about. So Mike Samutin, for example, has taught us the first finance course last year, and he was just a great professor. He was able to balance both teaching content to people like me who had never taken a finance course before, but also make it interesting enough for people who do have a background in finance or have taken finance courses before. And as someone who came in not wanting to do finance whatsoever, he almost convinced me to change my mind. So I think that always says a lot. And then Sarah Kaplan as well is a great professor. I'm taking her Corporation 360 course right now, which is essentially looking at an organization from all angles, considering ESG, sustainability, diversity, all of those things. And she's just a great professor overall. But maybe I'll let Chris speak to a few more of the professors who are teaching electives, since he's gone through and completed his second year already.
Yeah, thank you, Greta. To add to Mike and Sarah, I think those are great teachers. I had courses with them as well. I would add, there's also a lot of faculty who are not only very specialized in a certain field of study, but who are very, very practical, or practitioners who come from business, who built companies and founded startups and sold their companies. For example, Ben Richards was a faculty member who was in business before he became professor, and it's for me it was very interesting to not only learn the theoretical parts of business, but also listen to stories and anecdotes of professors who were actually in business and we're basically putting things into practice that you're learning during the MBA.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, I'm very glad you mentioned Dan. He's who, was in my mind for this question as well, because he partners directly with our career services team for the flexible internship program. So he's a key partner for that program and all the industry advisors that are working with the students throughout it. So thanks for the mention of Dan.
Thank you both for sharing those experiences as students. I think that is a great sign that a program is doing good things when a professor inspires you to change career. It's like you pretty much have been gearing up for an MBA with a career trajectory in mind, and pretty much made the pitch with that trajectory to the admissions team. Maybe first the recruiters, first to Lynda, and then the admissions team about, to get into that program. And then you're like, I really want to work in luxury fragrances now because I had the most amazing professor, and it's like, it just, most of the time it doesn't end up going that way. Most times you get a reality check. No, I'm going to stay with my original plan. But that happens. And I think it's a great sign of a program that's really working. I wanted to also, the theme of this episode today. And by the way, I should mention again, anyone who's listening live, you can ask questions to anyone on the panel today. So don't hesitate to post your questions in the chat, and we'll be happy to ask them to anyone on the panel today. But anyway, the theme of this episode of MBA Waves is very much about how Rotman is one of the best MBA programs to transform people's careers. Kind of like what we were just saying. So could you please share some more about the career services offer? Obviously, it's probably a question for Sheila, but also for the students. share about the career services offer at Rotman, and what can graduates expect in terms of employment opportunities and return on investment, both local Canadians as well as those coming from abroad? So whoever wants to start off on that. It's kind of a mouthful.
I can kick us off, and then I would love, if Gretha or Christoph have experiences of, working with our offices or some information. I would love for your thoughts to be shared as well. So our career services team overall, we're a team of 25 here at Rotman, and it's made up of career coaches as well as industry advisors and our operational staff to help support all of what we are doing. And we are built upon, there's kind of 4 pillars within our framework of a high touch model, employer engagement, networking, and promoting our students. And that's what guides a lot of the initiatives that we do throughout each year. And each student, when they join Rotman, get assigned to work with a dedicated career coach, and that coach will see them through their entire journey throughout the Rotman program here. So we work to partner with students to assist in, identifying career paths and helping to carve out what that would look like, and however we can support each student upon their journey, because as we mentioned, some are looking to make a career change, whether it be industry or function or a whole host of other reasons. So really working with each individual on how we can best support you. And then our industry advisors, they're playing a key role of working with companies that have opportunities, and we're focused on about 14 or so different core industries that we really are looking to develop business, if you will, within. So it can be finance and consulting, but also healthcare, technology, the startup community. So a whole host of industries that we would be bringing in different opportunities, and have a Rotman specific job board that we can post all these opportunities to, that our students can see. And many of these opportunities, the companies say, look, I'm coming to Rotman first because I want to see the pool of candidates. I want to see who you have available. And then, if they don't identify somebody, then they will go to, the public or more institutions. So we really have that relationship with our companies to work on bridging that gap and bringing in those opportunities. And they can be, small and large companies. And like we spoke about, local opportunities here in Canada, but also international jobs as well. And, it's been exciting to see too, Canada and even, Toronto right here in our own backyard. Just companies, especially, in the tech space and in healthcare, just the amount of companies that are opening up Toronto offices and having, a whole host of business opportunities that are applicable for our students, and being able to leverage those relationships and then work with companies that are more global, because Toronto may be a particular location, and then they also have offices, whether it be in the US or in Europe or Asia or, other countries. So that, I think I'll pause there. I've got some other information in which I could share, but I would love, to hear some of the feedback about, interacting with our offices and points others would like to share.
So really encouraging for the Toronto job market. Who wants to go next? Gretha, Chris?
I can jump in. Yeah, or Chris, go for it.
Briefly, I would say my experience were very positive with the admissions office. Basically, what happens when I joined in my first year, I got assigned a career services consultant, who is basically your point of contact for everything related when it comes to applications for your summer internship or for full-term applications later in the second year. So if you have questions on, how should my resume look like, how should I, phrase my certain things in my cover letter, and also how do I network, what was the best way to approach a certain team that I would be very interested in working with during my internship. All these questions, I think, are very difficult to answer if you're on your own. So with the career consultant by your side, it was really easy to prepare for your internship and then also for full-time recruitment.
Yeah, something I'll just add to that as well. I totally agree. I loved career services. I had a great relationship with my career coach. I actually just saw her this morning for a coffee and a catch up. So have only great things to say about career services. But something I wanted to point out is that there's also a lot of clubs that support the recruitment process and the job search process. So for me, when I was recruiting for consulting, I was part of the MCA, so the Management Consulting Association, and they put on a lot of workshops for networking, but also for the case interview prep. And so there's lots of resources, whether you're applying for finance or technology or consulting. There's pretty much a club for everything, and they're also really great supports and can connect you to both upper years and then also alumni who were maybe part of that club previously. So there's lots of ways to kind of figure out what career path might be right for you, and then also what would be the best approach to apply to those places.
Thank you all for your answers. I mean, as Lynda pointed out earlier on in the conversation, you're not placed into a job, and there is career services. From the sounds of it, I'm sure Sheila's pleased to hear that they're very happy with the services, the career services at Rotman. But I think it's also very much up to the student to take a very active role in that, in that process of finding your next role. And I think that starts very early on in the program. I don't know what you guys recommend, like how soon. It's a 2-year program, so it's a little bit longer than the European typical 1 year, where we're like, September when you start looking for jobs right away. I don't know what you'd say to that, but nonetheless, doing things like participating in student associations, clubs that sort of gear you up in complement to whatever you can get out of career services sounds like a great combination. So good for you for that.
A question I get asked a lot in an interview is, if I'm admitted to the program and enroll, do you have any suggestions on how I could prepare? And I don't think it matters what industry you want, what you want to get out of your MBA program. Start networking as early as possible. And a lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so, whether you're an international student or a domestic, it's tapping into that network. And again, we're not placing students, and it's actively taking advantage of the opportunities that Rotman has presented to you through career services, access to faculty, the diverse student body that is there, and Toronto as a location, and leveraging all of that to take the next steps in your career, ready for your internship or your full-time position.
That's a perfect parlay into my question about the alumni services, because we have Christoph here, who's gone through the program and who's working. But what are some of the things that your alumni are doing, and all those 25 folks in the career center? Like, what are some stories, maybe Sheila, that you can tell us about different career paths and ongoing services even for the students that go through the program?
Yeah, and if it's okay, I'd like to back up just a bit too. I know that part of Eric's question was in regards to ROI and sort of employment outcomes of our students and things, and I'd love to share a bit of data around that. If Rotman students, for one thing, data is a lot about what it is. So I can share some information. So the class of 2022. We are still doing some final collection of that graduating class, but I have results for kind of 2020 and 2021, the prior 2 classes in which I can share. And from what we're seeing, we anticipate for the class of 2022 great results once again in numbers that are even surpassing what I'll share. And in respects to international students, what I'll share too is these results from the prior 2 classes. Over 50% were international students, and over 60% born outside of Canada. So, the support for students that are not, from Canada and work authorization here, the opportunities are still there, and the support is there for plenty of opportunity. So for our full-time MBA 2021 class, 97% of the students seeking employment were employed within 6 months of graduation. And in fact, at only 3 months post-graduation, that was already at 96%. So for the class of 2021, their average base salary was $104,000, and that was up from $99,000 for the class of 2020. When you factor in bonuses and other compensation, we're looking at, for the class of 2021, a level of 123,000, and then for the class of 2020, a level of $112,000. And top industries that the students are going into: financial services, consulting, technology, followed by consumer packaged goods and retail, legal services, and healthcare. We're close behind. And all this information on the Rotman website. There is a careers page, and there are employment reports, employment and salary reports that can be downloaded from there, so you can see those statistics among many others, to see the outcomes of our students from the prior class. So we're excited to be reporting those numbers and collecting the data on 2022. But from an ROI perspective, hopefully some of those give an indication of how our students are landing for their employment post graduation.
Amazing. Thanks, Sheila.
Yeah, you're welcome. On the alumni piece too, one great resource that we have within Career Services is running biannually now a Career Discovery Week. And during these weeks, we leverage our alumni community to be speakers for us on industry panels. So at the start of the school year, we just hosted a Career Discovery Week, and we had, I think it was 14 different panels over the course of a week with alumni speakers that got to speak to their journey, their path, tips for students as they're beginning in the program, because like we talked about, it starts early, and wanting to help to share that knowledge so students can begin to craft their narrative and craft their plans as to where they hope to go upon graduating. We also have a fantastic platform that is run through alumni relations called Rotman Connect, and that connects students with alumni for different mentorship opportunities, and a whole host of alumni that are on there from different locations, different industries that are wanting to engage with our students or other fellow alumni to be resources. So within Career Services, we partner so closely and have a very valued relationship with our alumni relations office for some of those collaborations that we're working on together.
Thank you, Sheila. And just to point out, I've added the the website of Rotman on the bottom of your screen, and there you can find Career Services and download that career report.
Thank you. Helpful.
So,
Eric, I just want to build on what Sheila said about the Rotman Connect, our online community. It's more than just full-time MBA, so thinking beyond and the access. So it's we say morning, evening, which is our part-time MBA, our executives. All Rotman programs are in this community, and so you can tap in and leverage them. Perhaps years down the road, if you're changing up your career, to lean into the Rotman Connect. We also the alumni office does do coaching as well too, for anyone who might be looking to transition their career years after the MBA. And access to alumni events. We have a Reunite at Rotman, which is our annual coming together, I guess, each year in the fall. And we celebrate reunions at that time and have guest speakers and alumni come back and share their stories and engage with the current cohort, but a way for the Rotman community to reunite over the course of the weekend. So there's lots of different events and activities where alumni can get together, but again, continue that networking.
And thanks for mentioning too that the career coaching support doesn't end upon graduation too. We do have some alumni coaching support assisting beyond the Rotman classroom experience time. Thank
you, Sheila. And I don't know if Gretha and Chris got to respond to Bara's last question about Career Services and alumni and so forth. Did you want to add on to what Sheila said, especially Chris, who actually is an alum?
Yeah, I can maybe share a bit, not too much because it's just been 3 or 4 months. But I do know there are certain things that are available to you as a Rotman alum. One of the things that I want to add on top of what Sheila already mentioned is there's also the possibility to take to basically audit courses. So if there is a course at Rotman you're interested in and you're graduated, you can audit it. And there are certain courses that you would be invited to that are exclusive for alumni. I know the Leadership Development Lab sometimes offers courses for their alumni. That's something that I will, what I'm planning to attend in, I think, in October. So I'm looking forward to that, and also to the other many things and ways that I'm able as an alum to basically keep in touch with the bigger and wider Rotman community.
Just one quick thing that I have to add as a current student is it's always great how engaged the Rotman alum are. So I'm on the exec for a few clubs, and for a lot of events, we invite alumni back. For example, I'm planning the annual women's conference in the spring, and we're definitely planning on inviting alumni back to speak on panels or as a keynote speaker, and everyone's always really willing to engage. So it's also great for the current students to get to meet different alumni and keep in touch in that way. So great alumni network.
Of course, I mean, not only is it the most obvious place to leverage, connections for future employment, but like you're just about to be among these ranks, so your future colleagues. That's great. Do we know how many alumni, Rotman alumni there are worldwide?
I guess over all of our programs at Rotman, I believe there's just over 20,000 and over, I believe it's across 90 countries. So it expands, but again, we do see a lot of them here in Toronto.
I mean, that's like a small city, 20,000. Nice.
That's all of our degree programs at Rotman.
Nice. Look, any other questions, Bara? Are we going to wrap it up there?
I think this was thorough and juicy and good.
Yeah, really interesting comments, really great responses. Just want to thank everyone who was watching live, as well as anyone who watched the playbacks, and of course, all of our panelists, Sheila, Lynda, Gretha, and Chris. I want to remind everyone that MBA Waves every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Paris time, 1 p.m. East Coast time, and hope you join us next week as well. Thank you once again, and bye, everyone.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.